Hey Baddies, we want to take a quick minute to shout out our amazing sponsor, Eli Lilly, for supporting our mission here on Baddie to Baddie. Because of their generosity, we can keep these important conversations about breast cancer awareness, education, and advocacy going strong for our community of women of color. We send our sincere thanks to our partners at Eli Lilly for standing with us. Calling all permanent makeup artists. Discover how you can join our mission to empower breast cancer survivors of color with specialized permanent makeup services. It's more than makeup, it's a movement. Connect with us and find out how you can contribute to this empowering cause by visiting baddiebeautycollective.com. In return, you will receive free breast health education, permanent makeup trainings, and much more. The Baddie Beauty Collective is brought to you by For the Breast of Us, Artistry by Zuri, and PM Yukon. If you're a breast cancer survivor looking to boost your confidence and add a bit of swag to your new normal, this is your invitation to explore free and discounted permanent makeup services by artists trained in the specifics and nuances of skin for women of color. From eyebrows to 3D areola and scar transformation, join us and let your journey of empowerment begin. Check out the Baddie Beauty Collective, brought to you by For the Breast of Us, Artistry by Zuri, and PM Yukon by visiting baddiebeautycollective.com.
Welcome to Baddie to Baddie, a monthly podcast by For the Breast of Us, the first breast cancer community for all women of color, where we share real-life experiences, information, and education to help you live your best life after a breast cancer diagnosis. Welcome to Baddie to Baddie. Welcome to Baddie to Baddie. Hey girl, hey. Welcome to another episode of Baddie to Baddie, brought to you by For the Breast of Us, a community for all women of color impacted by breast cancer. My name is Marissa, co-founder and CEO of For the Breast of Us, and I am also a 7-year breast cancer survivor. On this episode of Baddie to Baddie, we're discussing survivorship and life beyond cancer. Hello ladies, welcome to Baddie to Baddie. How are you doing today?
Hi, doing pretty good.
Good. So today I am joined by Angel, Tamika, and Aisha, and we are all breast cancer survivors thriving out here in these streets. Yes. And so, I just want to talk to you guys about survivorship and how you're navigating that and what that looks like to you, and how we can help empower our sisters who are also either still living with breast cancer or who are just now on the other side of active treatment, and how we can help them with that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, I know everybody always says new normal, which for me, it's like once you've been diagnosed with cancer, especially breast cancer, to me, there's not even necessarily a new normal so much so. So how does your new normal or your life after being diagnosed with breast cancer, how does that look for you? Angel, we'll start with you.
So that's a good question. My new normal definitely hits physically. So before breast cancer and before chemotherapy, I had locks. My locks had just hit my tailbone. So the type of chemotherapy I had, I lost my hair. And right now I'm on my 3rd set of braids. And I think I finally found like a set of styles that works for me. So definitely physical with my appearance. I also suffered from neuropathy during chemotherapy. So after cancer, I had different mobility issues that I'm working through. So I'm running and stretching a lot now. And also I think it slowed down my thinking capacity and also my speech. It's something like I pick up on and my family and close friends notice, but people who don't know me don't know. So I request a lot of patience and grace when I speak. So definitely like physical and mental for me.
Yeah. And Angel, you said you are about 2 years out from active treatment, right?
Yes, so May 10th makes 2 years since the end of chemotherapy. I had 20 rounds of radiation that ended July 15th. And immunotherapy also started around this time, 2 years. So I'm on immunotherapy for the next 5 years.
Okay. And tell everybody that's listening, what stage were you diagnosed and what type of breast cancer?
So I was diagnosed with stage 1 invasive ductal carcinoma. I had a lumpectomy and I also had lymph nodes removed. I'm not sure what grade my tumor was, but I know it had spread through my lymph nodes. I had
Oh,
4 rounds of chemotherapy and 20 rounds of radiation.
okay. Okay. And then Tamika, so what does new normal look like for you?
Dealing with neuropathy as well with my right foot. That's more so whereas it just keeps lingering, it won't go away. Also dealing with hairstyles, like you stated, I had locks for over 15 years and they came out. So I'm just, trying to find something new. Every time I find something new, I change it up. So I like the versatility now.
Mhm.
And everybody wants me to go back to lots, but I'm like, no, I like the versatile stage that I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
Also, definitely with me being 45, well, I'm 48 now, but at 45, when I found my lump, I was actually going through pre-menopausal symptoms. So going through chemo knocked me straight into menopause. So that's a couple of things that I'm still dealing with as far as menopause of the night sweats, the day sweats, the mood swings, the just these, like you said, the speech, the cognitive abilities, those different things are most of the things that I'm still dealing with as a survivor.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you're about 3 years out from active treatment.
I'm close to 2 years.
Okay.
I will be 2 years in August of this year.
Okay.
Yes.
And what stage and what type of breast cancer were you diagnosed with?
I had stage 2, grade 2B triple negative.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, which we'll touch on the subject a little bit later too, but a lot of other people don't talk about being thrown into medically induced menopause and what
Hmm.
that's like, especially as a young woman.
Hmm.
Nobody really, wants to talk about it. They're just kind of like it's one of those side effects you have to deal with, but they don't realize the shock that that puts on your body.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
even just the cognitive things that you were talking about, which we always like to call chemo brain. I was the same way when I went back to work. I ended up telling everybody at work, like, okay, you're gonna have to give me some grace because some
Hmm.
things like I just can't remember, and it's not like
Yeah.
it's always gonna be that way. Like
Hmm.
I didn't want them to think like, oh, well, is she gonna be able to do her job? Like I could still do my job, but
Right. But
I
give
just
me time.
right,
Give me
right,
time.
right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so, Aisha, how would you define your new normal now? What does that look like for you?
I'm with everybody else about the hair. Like, black women, our hair is our everything. And so
Mhm.
my hair fell out. I had lots of curly hair. And so just managing my new hair texture has been a bit of a struggle. Everyone always says that I have good hair texture now, um, which I don't really like, but I liked the way my hair was before, and I was used to it, and we had our thing going. We had a good routine, and then now I'm trying to embrace this new texture of hair that I have now.
Mhm.
Um, I definitely have cognitive issues. I'm actually doing a study with UT about cognitive, like I don't know the actual term of it, but the
Mhm.
effects of chemo on your cognition. um, so I actually started Monday, but that I was put into menopause, medically induced menopause. I think that for me that has been the hardest part
Mhm.
because people don't talk about menopause in general. Like
Right.
there are things that like I found out through my doctor, through doing my own research that I'm telling my own mom And she's like, oh, that's why that happened? Like, that's why I'm doing that? Like, she didn't even know that those were um, side effects of going into menopause.
Mm.
And so for me, that's been the biggest thing. Along with the menopause has come like extreme fatigue. I recently started taking Lexapro because I was depressed. Just dealing with all of the body changes that I deal with before chemo, before treatment. I was very active. Um,
Oh, it looks like we lost Aisha, but I know she'll pop back on, so we'll let her finish that thought, when she hops back on. But yeah, everything that she was talking about, I know we all can definitely relate to.
Mm-hmm.
There she.
Sorry, I lost y'all.
No, that's okay.
Um, I don't know the last thing you heard, but I was very active before treatment. So now it's just a struggle for me to just do daily tasks
Hmm.
because I'm just so tired. Menopause has created like inconsistencies with my sleep patterns. So I either fall asleep early. I pretty much am pretty consistent with waking up at 3 in the morning, no matter what time I went to bed. And it's not because of night sweats or going to the bathroom. I'm just up. Like, and it makes, I feel like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like,
Right.
I don't feel like it's 3 a.m. And then I'll go to back to sleep a couple hours later and then, have to get back up, um, to go to work. But it's very, it's tough because I feel like the treatment part, you have a lot of support,
Hmm.
but the after part, like if it's not medical, we don't really have a lot of information about how to move forward. Um, so, you know, to me that's been some of the hardest things, just mentally dealing with like this new normal, as you were saying.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. And it's one of the things that we have tried to focus on here at For the Breast of Us is giving resources or just having these type of conversations. So one, women can feel like it's normal to talk about these things. And then we can also just share our experiences and then ask questions of like, okay, well, how did you deal with this? How did you navigate this? What type of doctor did you see? What type of alternate therapies, did you seek out to help you with those things? I remember one of the things my oncologist told me, she's just like, well, yeah, like we're really just trying to save you. So once they get you to that point, then they're just like, okay, well, we're done. So,
Right.
Yeah.
then they just throw you
Yeah.
back into the world. But then you're like, I always envision it with the analogy of like, they're just kind of like, they're keeping you real sheltered and then they just throw you back out. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, go back, go do what you need to do. And it's like, well, man, I feel like I'm naked and like, what am I supposed to
Yeah.
do here? So, yeah, I definitely, definitely get that. So my next question for you is, so let's talk about the emotional roller coaster of survivorship. We're kind of already going into that, including like the fear of recurrence and fatigue and body image. I guess we'll start with body image, and Tamika, we'll start with you first this time. How has you like navigating survivorship? Do you have any concerns with body image? Did you have any, especially you talked about losing your hair?
Yes. So I made the decision to do a double mastectomy because I had did a little research on triple negative, and I know with that being one of the most aggressive forms of breast cancer, it also runs into a higher chance of reoccurrence as well. And so that's why I made the decision to do the double mastectomy. But I also did the deep flap procedure where they exchange your fat from your stomach, almost
Hmm.
like a tummy tuck. Instead of throwing the fat away, they
Right.
just build you new breasts. So sometimes you look at yourself, like you said, I'm healed, I'm good. But then sometimes you wonder, well, did I make the right decision? Or you look at yourself like, does that look proportional, or is that pudging out, or do I feel this? Or like you said, with the reoccurrence is, okay, if I feel something in pain, I'm like, okay, is that a reoccurrence? So those things are constantly running through my brain. And even though sometimes I have that calm moment of, Tamika, stop worrying. If you worry yourself to death, it's gonna worry it back in. But then I'm only human, and those thoughts do retain in my head that it may come back.
Right. And so
Mhm.
how do you navigate that when you are having those type of thoughts? Do you like tap into other people in the community? Do you
Yes.
talk to your doctors?
Yes, I do tap into other survivors in my community. Actually, not just in Houston, but ladies here in Atlanta. I also met some other survivors that's in DC, in Virginia, in Florida. And we just, we encourage each other and try to keep each other mindset balanced. And by me doing the different things like with the body image, as far as the nipple tattoos, or the brow tattoos, those kind of help me feel better about myself as the image wise. But I'm still working on the inner self of, it's going to be okay. You don't
Right.
have to worry about it.
Right.
Hmm.
Angel, what about you?
I think for me, it was like 50-50. Like in the beginning of my journey, I was trying my hardest to cover up my bald head. Like I had a hat that I wore everywhere, no matter the event. I would be in church with like a baseball cap on, trying just to hide the fact that I didn't have hair, even though I had nothing in my power to control it. So I think a lot of therapy, I've done cognitive therapy, I've done EDMR therapy, I lean onto my social worker and my oncologist office for therapy, and just practicing, I guess, positive affirmations to get through the day. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about the scars on my body, from my lumpectomy or the lymph nodes being removed. And even with my immunotherapy, I have Zoladex injections every month, and those injections are starting to leave scars. And that's every month for the next 5 years. That's 60 marks that I'm not putting makeup on my body every day to like cover the thing. So just being comfortable in my body. Um,
Mm-hmm.
with me, it's also about like the weight, because I was a different body type before breast cancer, and now like I can't fit the clothes. So I'm trying to figure out who this new person is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, Tamika, it's been so helpful for me. Like community has been everything to me. I was diagnosed during a pandemic, so I couldn't physically take visitors into my appointments until chemotherapy. So the fact that I was able to connect with people, like through For the Breast of Us and other organizations, and just that community in itself, be it social media, an email, a phone call, a FaceTime, just served so much purpose and gave me so much power during my journey.
Yeah, I love it. Aisha, I forgot to ask you. So, um, how old were you when you were diagnosed, and what stage and what type of breast cancer?
I was 41.
Mhm.
I had stage one HER2 positive invasive ductal carcinoma.
Oh,
Um, I had a double mastectomy because of family history, and then I did have reconstruction, um, and I have implants. So it was close to my nipples. So I don't have nipples right
mhm.
now, and I'm about like a year out of just basic treatment. So my maintenance drugs ended last April,
Mhm.
but I finished chemo in August of 2022, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 2022. And then right after I had all of my surgeries. Um, so for me, I mean, just like they both said, it's just really hard to be in a situation where there's no slow progress of these body changes.
Mhm.
It's instant. Like one day you're wearing your clothes, and then the next day you try to put your clothes on and they don't fit,
Mhm.
or they fit like in some spots, or some clothes you can wear, some clothes you can't wear. And the next day, like, just the changes that are happening, you're like, what is going on?
Right.
And that was really hard for me because I was very athletic build.
Mm-hmm.
And to just have like the shift in my body, it was just so hard. Like, a lot of people have the issue with the breast. Like, honestly, I didn't even care. I debated not even getting the implants and just being flat. Um, which in hindsight, I probably should have, if I would have known I was going to gain this weight, because then I could have did a D flap and helped myself out. But yeah, it's very difficult to just look at myself. And my therapist has been amazing.
Mm.
Um, her thing for me is, never, don't focus on what you look like right now. Focus on what your body has been through and how successfully it has um, won against all these different treatments.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the exercises I had to do was look at myself in the mirror naked and pick out things that I like about my body, whether it was the fact that my fingernails were growing back, my hair was growing back, just little things to help me not focus so much on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that really helped me because we're all so crucial of ourselves anyway.
Mm.
And so, just like, consciously thinking about the good things about my body was very helpful. And then just thinking about the reoccurrence, I don't think about the reoccurrence, but anytime something is wrong with me, I think it could lead to me getting cancer, whether it be breast cancer or melanoma, or like if I have a mark on my skin, or if my stomach is bothering me or something, I have a cramp, then I'm like, oh my God, is there something wrong with my uterus? Like, do I have this issue? I had issues with my kidneys because of my treatment. And so I've been going to a renal doctor every 6 months. So that is like kind of been wearing on me. Like, are my kidneys going to fail? Is it going to go to another organ that's also going to fail? So I don't so much think about the breast cancer, but I think about the cancers that are tied to breast cancer
Mm.
that I could possibly, get now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, like you were saying, it's just navigating this whole process and everything all the time that we just don't even know. I actually had a friend tell me, because I have always really just picked apart, things on my body. My weight has always fluctuated. Before I was diagnosed, I was actually in the best shape of my life. I had just lost like 40 pounds. And in hindsight, I think that was like God's way of getting me ready of what I was getting ready to go through. Because, if I was that heavy or just not as active as I was, who would have known would I've been able to get through treatment the way how I did. But yeah, like you guys said, like it's funny because me and my best friend, we used to joke when I was diagnosed. I was like, oh man, I'm going to lose all this weight now from being going through cancer treatment. I'm going to have a 6-pack. Like that was like our joke. And I just ballooned up, like gained so much weight. Like it's crazy. And so now I'm finally like starting to lose the weight. So yeah, it definitely is a process. And I wish that doctors, not even just doctors, even if it's just like the social worker or somebody nutritionist there, like would just be like, okay, like you were saying, it's going to be a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just going to happen really quickly. At one point, like you may lose a little bit of weight, but then you're going to gain weight and you're just going to keep fluctuating.
Mm-hmm.
I did go see a metabolic specialist, which I would highly recommend for you guys to look up and see if the area that you're in, if they have one, because I was just gaining weight. This was probably about a year or two after I was done with active treatment, and I was just gaining weight ridiculously. And so when I went and seen him the first time, he had told me, what the doctors don't tell you is that chemo alters your metabolic system. Which makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
so he was like, and it just throws your whole body out of whack. He was like, so you have to shock it back to get to where you need to go. So they had me do I, went and seen him, and then he was like, come back and see me in about 4 days. He was like, but these 4 days, he was like, I want you to just not eat anything. Act like you're just on, like, just drinking water, like you're fasting or whatever. I wasn't eating anything and I was still gaining weight.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh, wow.
and so he's just like, so then they put me on a really strict diet of just like only 1,200 calories a day, which when he told me, I was just like, you got to be crazy. But when you count it, because we eat so much anyways, like it's actually just enough food if you eat the right amount of food. And that like shocked my system back. And like I stopped, gaining weight so rapidly. But I'm like, I wish that they would be like, okay, well, your metabolic system is going to be like out of whack. And, if you're on, treatment like tamoxifen or something or whatever, even after active treatment, these things, they're all factors. And especially with like our makeup as being, Black and brown women, like, everybody knows like we're different anyway. So, but that's where like research comes in. So, Aisha, I'm actually glad that you're in that research study because I would love to see what comes out from that in terms of, just like your brain and how you think and how, you work and operate after treatment. Like that'll be a dope study just to see what that comes out from that. So I'm glad that you're participating in it. So the next topic that I wanted to talk about was, I said it in the beginning. So we're out here thriving. We're not just surviving. And so how are you ladies out here thriving? What is it that you do that you feel like you're thriving in despite of being diagnosed with breast cancer? How are you thriving out here? Aisha, I'll let you start first.
I would say that it has helped me focus on things that I like to do. So I would say that the past 2 years, I've traveled more than I have probably in 10 years. Just because I'm like, you know what? If I sit around and I wait for other people to do stuff or I wait for the perfect time, there's never going to be a perfect time. And so I'm indulging in my hobbies. I'm doing different types of self-care, not just getting massages. And, I'm doing a lot of holistic things that I've heard of, but just haven't done before. And just taking more chances. That fear of just failing has totally left me because I don't know how much time I have. So I'm taking more chances on myself. I'm experiencing everything that I have the capacity to experience. And just not getting down on myself if I don't do something for one day. Like if I'm not working out and it's been a week, like not getting down on myself, just focusing on the next week, focusing on the next thing. And just like you said, like kind of reanalyzing like who I am as a person, what's going to work for me, because what was working for me before chemo, as far as fitness and my health, it's different for me now. And so I feel like I'm a lot more, I was never like a very anxious person, but I'm a lot more daring than I was before. So just, taking that chance on myself and just not being afraid like I was before.
Yeah. Angel, what about you? How are you thriving?
I think thriving for me looks like saying no to things. So before breast cancer, I was a yes person. Yes, I'll drop you off. Yes, I'll help with this assignment. Yes, I'll pick up this extra thing at work. Yes, I'll be here for the family event. And it's like back then I had the capacity to. Now that I know what my new normal is, I know that I don't have the capacity for all the yeses that I had in my past. So just being able to say no, but comfortable in my no's allows me to thrive. And not feel like I have to explain myself to people when I do say no. It also looks like setting a routine. I don't have like my full routine yet. So I'm still not working. I haven't worked since my diagnosis in 2021, but just establishing something or a to-do list to get me up and out of the house, be it working out or hitting a museum or visiting friends, reading or crocheting, just completing a task allows me to stay active in the thriver mindset.
Yeah, I love that. Tamika, what about you? How are you out here thriving in these streets?
With me, I'm tapping back into the fearless Tamika. The fearless Tamika moved from Atlanta, quit a job that I was working for 14 years, and just went to Houston on a whim. I knew what I wanted to do, but in spite of everyone, oh, you shouldn't do that, oh, you shouldn't do that, oh, you shouldn't do that, and I just did it anyway. So I'm tapping into that Tamika again, the fearless Tamika, taking chances. Like Aisha said, the traveling, the speaking up for myself, starting the new business, doing the things that I want to do, not just for myself, but setting those trends and setting examples for my three sons, as well as my niece and my nephew.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, we talked a lot about, you know, some of the side effects that we had, whether that be from, medications or just what has just come about, even just having a side effect on top of a effect. So, how are you managing those side effects? What are you doing? What are some tips that you could share to anybody that's listening that's going through the same thing? Angel, I'll let you start.
I'm diving deep into the holistic medication and medication knowledge, very much so. Like you said, Tamika, where I'm in the process of starting a business to help people get educated about the prescriptions that they're taking. So for me, because I know it's person specific and I'm not a medical doctor and I don't give out advice, the side effects of the medication that I was taking became more painful than the actual side effects through my menopause or chemotherapy, to the point where I asked my doctors, what does it look like if I just stop the medication to treat the things like neuropathy and hot flashes? And I found a holistic doctor and balanced my vitamins and nutritions, and the neuropathy is gone, the drop foot is gone. Like I feel my body and myself regaining access to my nerves again. So with me, like I literally had every side effect in the book, where I was in the emergency room more than I got to visit family and friends. So just paying attention to like the medication, the ingredients in the medication, and know that medication, and it also goes into the trials of accessibility, in clinical trials. The medication isn't always tested on people that look like us. So if we aren't represented in those trials, when we take the medications, we may have side effects that the doctors may not even know what to do with.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, I was in one of those predicaments where I had some type of bacteria that less than 1% of people had. And I think it was documented as like less than 100,000 people out of a million people had this thing, where I was in a hospital in Maryland in the emergency room. I was swollen, white blood cells were down. Doctors were trying to fly in to see me when my own medical team didn't know what was going on. And because of that, they just chalked it up as bacteria because they couldn't define it. So with me, it doesn't bring distrust to the medical field, but if like the doctors don't know, there's
Mhm.
more exploring to do. So I always suggest and encourage like independent knowledge and knowing about not only like the medication, but the side effects and the long-term side effects that they come with.
Yeah, that's like I said. One of the reasons why I'm glad that Aisha is participating in this study, because at least they'll be able to know, for people that look like us, and they'll be able to know, like you said, when it comes to side effects. I was the same way. I had some of the most craziest side effects happen when I was going through chemo, and they were just looking like, "We've never seen this before," and I'm like, "Well, I'm sure you haven't, because there's not a lot of people like me that you just
Hey,
it." So,
hey.
yeah, I get it.
And
So yeah.
I feel like IVF, and infertility is also a side effect, but because of financial reasons, it's one of those things that I don't get to worry about. So I kind of like push that on the back burner and then revisit the conversation with my oncologist and my medical team every couple of months or every year. But IVF is just not in the options, not in the books for me right now.
Mhm. Yeah. Tamika, how are you kind of navigating the side effects, and what tips can you share for some of the people listening as well?
Some of the tips that I would recommend that I'm not even doing myself, but I have been told to do is lower my caffeine intake. I'm a huge coffee drinker.
Mhm.
So that I'm trying to balance that of trying not to drink so much coffee. But not drinking so much coffee, I definitely take me a fan everywhere I go because I have to have it all day, every day. Drinking more water, exercising more. I have been picking up my exercising routine almost every day. I do at least about 15 minutes of exercise every day. Affirmations, that was speaking about affirmations about, speaking light and speaking positivity into yourself. Um, I'm also dealing with sexual health issues as well. So I do have a couples counselor, me and my mate, that we do talk to. So she has been giving us, tips on different things of how I can get back to knowing my body, knowing myself or what I need, so that those triggers that are the sexual health can kind of bring me back a little bit into the getting aroused a
Right,
little
right.
bit. Yeah, because
Mhm.
those once I went through the menopause, it kind of just went flat for a
Yeah.
while.
Mhm.
Yeah, so now I'm getting back to that arousement with doing some of the tips that she gave us. So
Yeah.
those are some of the things that I've been doing, and my vitamins. I'm definitely doing more vitamin intake than I am with the medication intake.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Love that.
Mhm.
Aisha, how are you navigating some of the side effects that you mentioned?
Um, just doing my own research and becoming more knowledgeable about what really happens after chemo for a lot of people. Because the other thing is just advocating for yourself. Because the more that research that I'm doing and reading articles and going to webinars and things, sometimes like I know my primary care doctor, I have to kind of teach him about certain things when I ask him questions, because he'll be like, well, you're not old enough to experience that. Or, I wouldn't recommend that. And I'm like, well, when you have chemo and, these are the things that happen after.
Mhm.
So I do think that that's something that I need to be tested for just to make sure.
Hmm.
And so, advocating for myself, building that relationship with my doctors to where they understand that just because you tell me something doesn't mean that I'm going to follow it if I don't feel that it's something that is correct.
Hmm.
Um, we're going to work together to figure this out. Like, this is not, you're not the final decision maker for any of my tests, my treatments, or anything. Um, the other thing that I've been doing is just thinking outside the box as far as my fitness. Before I was like really big into weightlifting. I ran a lot. Um, but that I don't really have the energy to do those things. And when I do it, it takes a lot out of me like the following days. So I do a lot of yoga. I'll do just some different forms of strength training that don't require weights. So just be experimental with your physical activity. Like, don't think that you have to do what you used to do and get down because you can't do those things anymore. Just
Hmm.
think of other ways that you can be active. If you like to dance, go to a dance class. Um, there's so many free things out there that you can just try. There's like a pole dance class that's in my area that I'm going to be looking into just because, like, why not? I mean, um, it is a great form of exercise. And so, yeah, that part. And then the same as Tamika, like, as far as sex goes, being thrown into menopause and just having all these changes happen to my body after chemo, you do have to get creative. And couples counseling is one of the best things that me and my husband have done because it allows us to have conversations without being embarrassed about it and not like feeling shame. Um, and so like we're able to actually communicate with each other about things that we like, out thinking outside the box, because sex is not always gonna happen. So what else could we do? Um, and so, having that communication and having a great support system.
Mm-hmm.
If there are people around me that I don't feel have my best interests at heart, I just cut them off. And then those who are here, they understand like what I'm going through. And so they reinforce, all the positive things, and try to steer me in the right direction when I start getting down about something. Um, make light of the fact that I have a terrible memory now. And like, instead of pointing it out, um, kind of making light of it, or just ignoring it. Like if I told you this story yesterday and I'm telling you again, like they'll just go right along like, oh, okay. So, and not be like, yeah, you told me yesterday. So surrounding yourself with just good people. I have great coworkers, I have great friends, I have great family that are supportive. And I think that has been like one of my biggest things, just not accepting people just because I've known you for a long time, because you may not be that positive presence that I need. So, that's been one of the biggest things for me too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of leads into our next and kind of final segment is just talking about community. So, one of the biggest things here at For the Breast of Us is, just embracing and finding community. One of the reasons why we have our private Facebook group called Breast Cancer Baddies, that we try to create a safe space just specifically for women of color who have been impacted by breast cancer. And, like Angel was telling me before, like she fighting for the rest of us, she was able to find other, ladies that she can connect with that she's still connected with today. And so, like, I love hearing stories like that because that's one of the reasons why we found it for the rest of us. And so I know how big community is. I know how big it was for me and how big it is for me. Like some of my best friends that I have now, you know, unfortunately we were diagnosed with breast cancer, but I would have never have met them if that wasn't the case. And we can just connect on so many levels, even beyond breast cancer, which is great. So I guess my question for all of you, and anyone can answer and start, but how has the crucial role of community played a part in you like navigating survivorship and your diagnosis?
I think community with breast cancer, because nobody expects to be diagnosed. So just being able to find a sense of safety, but also identity within people that you haven't met before, but you can build a bond is everything to me. I'm in several virtual and in person groups. And I always just lead with deference because if cancer doesn't discriminate, I could be friends with somebody at 25, but I could also be friends with a lady that's 86 that's in our group. And I always, the advice that I give people, because like Aisha said, you can't pay attention to the people who left. So I always say, I don't care who left because so many people got it right. Like I cannot focus on the negative when there's a positive person on the other side. So just trying to be mindful in that. But community has literally saved me and also helped define me through this journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree, especially with everything that Angel said. The community has been very much. I've had good things about the breast cancer community, and I've had bad things, but majority of it has been pretty good. And like I said, I met ladies from different cities, from even different countries and different age groups, and we can relate on so many different levels, even with us having different forms of cancer. Some not mothers, some are mothers. You can relate to different avenues with each other. And then as far as my circle of friends and family, by me having breast cancer, that helped me become more knowledgeable of family history, of things that a lot of people really didn't know about. And so some of the things that I have learned, I have passed on that knowledge to friends and family, and it has helped them to be more active and proactive when it comes to their health and their family health and their family history. So community, keeping those roots within each other, it helps us across the board, because even though we're going through the breast cancer ourselves physically, it still impacts everyone else that surrounds us. And
Right.
so when we have those moments of depression or have those aha moments, that like when I discovered that prostate cancer my history of prostate cancer in my family is connected to my breast cancer. Didn't even know that. And when I brought that information to my sisters and my cousins and my, sons, it was like an aha moment for all of us. So you just never know what type of conversations can come out of having breast cancer. Although this is not something we wanted, in so many words, sometimes bad things can create beautiful things in the
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for
end.
sure.
Mhm.
Aisha, how has community helped you? Like, communities like For the Breast of Us or any of the other breast cancer, groups that are out there.
I think that they have been like paramount in me going through just my treatment, after my treatment, because people don't talk about it. Like Tamika said, there were people in my family who had breast cancer that I didn't even know had breast cancer. And so being able to be a voice to everybody, like, your mom had breast cancer or your grandmom had breast cancer, you guys need to be getting mammograms. Um, so being able to educate like my family, being able to educate my friends, I decided to wait until my treatment was over before I posted about any of it on social media. And but at the same time, I was still in the Breast Cancer Baddies Facebook group. From that group, I started following people from that group on Instagram, following their journey, watching their videos about things that happen after their treatments, and putting two and two together. Like, that is why I'm going through this. That is why I'm dealing with this. And again, that I was taking that information from other women who posted things and bringing it to my own doctor, because I'm like, yes, I knew that this was not normal. Like, I need to go talk to my doctor about this. And so then I started posting my journey. And from there, people were reaching out to me, asking me questions, the way that I was reaching out to other women, asking them questions. And so it is a full circle moment for me that I was able to reach out to women and ask questions during my treatment. After my treatment, I still ask questions, but I'm now also able to answer questions for other people and to be a support for, unfortunately, a lot of my friends who have recently been diagnosed, or they've had family members who've been diagnosed, and being able to speak to different treatment options, talking to them about pros and cons, guiding them to different communities on social media so that they can find people in their area that that are able to support them. And so, you know, having people who are advocates, on social media, who were able to help me and are helping me right now, and then myself also becoming an advocate, and being able to help others, it's just, it keeps me going, because as alone as we shouldn't feel, it is very lonely sometimes. And then when people reach out to you, or you're seeing other people dealing with what you're dealing with, it helps to keep you going, because you realize that you're not alone. Even though, like, we know we're not alone, but you still feel isolated sometimes going through the things that we deal with. But when you're in that community and you've created these friendships, there are people that I see in person, and then I have social media support friends that I've never met, that, I feel like I've known for longer than some of my real friends, because we
Mhm.
just exchange conversations through messages pretty consistently. So the community has been everything for me. And as upset as I am that I'm a part of the community, um, I'm glad that I'm able to be a support to others, as just like women were to me. So
Yeah, yeah. It is the best part about having community. The one place that we all can connect with each other and, relate to certain things, but then also laugh and talk about like what it's like being a woman, a Black woman, and there's so many different things. So yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of, like I was saying before, and there's women who I talk to on a daily basis now that are some of my best friends that I've met in this community. And I love that. Um, well, thank you so much, ladies. This has definitely been a great conversation. Learning how you all are navigating survivorship and some of the things that you're doing, which I love everything that you guys said and all the things that you're doing, especially to take control of yourself and your health. But how can the audience get in touch with you or, follow you on social media? How can they get to know you a little bit better if they wanted to? And we'll definitely put all this information in our show notes in the podcast. But if you just want to announce it, how can they reach out to you if they want to? I'll let you go.
I'm pretty active on Instagram. My name on Instagram is just like DAT_IMA survivor. I don't think there's any other underscores, but there possibly could be. I don't remember. But it's just like that. I'm a survivor. So, and my name's Aisha Morgan. So you should be able to find me under that as well. And then I have another page called The Color of Influence. So you can find me there as well.
Okay. Thank you, Aisha. Angel, what about you? How can we follow you and get a hold of you?
I am Angel Thompson. I am active on Facebook with Angel Thompson, also LinkedIn because I share my advocacy space in the work world as well. On Instagram and TikTok, it is Angel After Cancer and also at The Prescription Princess.
Okay. And then Tamika, what about you?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. On Facebook, I am Pink Breasty Sister Presents, and on TikTok and Instagram is just Pink Breasty Sister.
Okay, great. And if anybody doesn't know if they're not already following For the Breast of Us, you can follow us on all social media at For the Breast of Us. My personal page, which is completely open and public, so feel free to follow me on there if you'd like to as well. On Facebook, I'm Marissa Thomas. And on Instagram and Twitter, because I love Twitter, that is my guilty pleasure. You can find me at Marissa DT28. And so thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it. Real quick, I want to take a minute to shout out our amazing sponsor, Eli Lilly, for supporting our mission on Baddie to Baddie. Because of their generosity, we can keep these important conversations about breast cancer awareness and advocacy going strong for our community of women of color impacted by breast cancer. We also want to thank our listeners for tuning in, and please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Baddie to Baddie on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Again, ladies, thank you so much. Don't log off real quick once I click the recording because I want to talk to you guys real quick. But thank you again, and we will see everybody soon on the next episode of Baddie to Baddie. This is another Baddie creation brought to you by For the Breast of Us. Don't forget to subscribe to Baddie to Baddie wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram at For the Breast of Us, on Twitter at The Breast of Us, and check us out online at breastofus.com. Thanks for listening.